So it was the summer after I graduated high school, right before I was to head out for college in a place far, far away. In my head, I was praying, Dear God, make me a bird so I can fly far, far away. Dear God, make me a bird so I can fly far, far away. At least I think that was my state of mind at that time. And the big thing back then during those summers was a week-long church camp. All the church kids were doing it, and since I was a PK, a pastor's kid, it meant that I really didn't have a choice in the matter. It's like going to church on Sunday mornings. Didn't really have a choice in the matter. The camp that everyone went to was called Camp Wanakee. Camp Wanakee, but a lot of people just called it Camp Wanna-Date. Camp Wanna-Date. It made sense because I wanted a date, but never got one. The whole week at this camp, I had this mindset that, I made up my mind. I made up my mind that it was just going to be like everything else, every other church thing that I was a part of, retreats or conferences, what have you. And since I was a PK, right, it meant that I was a veteran in this game. I'll show up, I'll be friendly, but that's it. And I was definitely staying away from anything like heavy or real or spiritual. And because this camp was like a pit stop for me, a layover. Like when you fly, right? When you fly, but you don't get a direct flight, so you have to stop somewhere. Well, this camp was like that for me. This was a layover on my way to college, a pit stop to the rest of my life. And on the last night of the camp, I was just sitting around like the worship space, just chillaxing, just people watching as you do, right? Just people watching as they were trying to get things ready for the evening service to start. And my mind just started to wander as I sat there and just kind of, aimlessly. And my mind just started to wander, and I just started just talking to myself. Well, I guess this is it. After this, I'm out. I go off to college. It won't be long now. That's what some of you may be thinking. Won't be long now. And this went on for a little while till it came all the way around back to God. Really how I had distanced myself from God and just kind of cut myself off from, the past year or so. And sort of the momentum for this kind of picked up, and it became actually kind of like an angry prayer. Like I was venting towards God, and it went something like, I trusted you, God. You led me up that spiritual mountain. I made promises to be able to live that life, but that I couldn't do. I couldn't live up to that. And so when I got back home from that retreat, where were you? I needed you, but you weren't there. Then there seemed to be a voice, or at least a sense of God just speaking to me, saying, I know, David. I know what you've been through. It's okay. Trying to reassure me. But instead of calming me down, it actually got me more frustrated. No, you don't know what I've been through. All the mess, the junk that's been in my life. It's okay, David. I know. Yeah? What do you know? It's all right, David. It's okay. What is okay? You don't know. You weren't there. And God's presence seemed to persist just all the more, pressing on me, assuring me that he knew and that it was okay, and that it was all right. I remember just burying my face in my hands and weeping, just confessing the failures that I've had, or the sins, things that ultimately led me to distance myself from God. And I began to see that the promises that I had made and broken again and again pained God also, if not more. And even though maybe during those times I had pulled away, I began to see God never had. I felt like I had failed and disappointed him over and over. But he kept saying to me that it was okay, that he knew, that he was here, and that he loved me. I had heard sermons before. You have heard sermons before. I've heard sermons all my life talk about Jesus this and Jesus that, talking about God's love for me, but this really was the first time I felt it and I experienced it, where it became real. God's presence convicting me, his love, his mercy, forgiveness, his grace like rain covering me. And my eyes became open. It wasn't just words or some idea anymore. It was God. God's love pursuing me, seeking me out relentlessly. I want to talk to you a little bit more about grace. About grace, God's grace for us in our lives. The Bible tells me, this I know. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And God created man and woman in his own image. And God said, it was very good. You see, you are not an accident. The Big Bang's got nothing on you. People and books may try to explain how we came about, but it cannot tell us who we came from. Even before the foundations of the world, you were born in God's heart. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Because God created you. You came from God. Now, when God created the first man and woman, Adam and Eve, he put them in the Garden of Eden and told them, hey, all that you see is yours. Live and enjoy life. You can have everything you want, but there's one thing, right? Just don't eat from that one tree of good and evil. Have you ever wondered, why would God do that? Right? Why would he do that? Doesn't he know that's the last thing that you actually want to do? Right? When you tell somebody don't do something, that's the thing they're going to want to do. Right? So why, God, why did you do that? Well, here's why I think. Because in order for you to be your own person, not just some robot that just kind of goes along and follows everything in front of you, in order for you to have a will that is free so that you can make up your own mind, God needed to make not choosing him, not obeying him, a possibility. Another way to look at that is God needed to make disobedience possible. He needed to make sin possible. Does that make sense? If God wanted us to have a free will, God needed to make choice possible. I mean, if God created the world, if the created world were set up in such a way so that all you could really ever do, is to obey and love God, are you really obeying and loving God if that's the way the world is set up? No. If I can't ever do wrong, how can I ever do right? I mean, if loving you is wrong, then I don't want to be right. If I can never not choose God, then am I ever really choosing God? You see, because love is a voluntary activity. And God created us, designed us. God meant for us to be in a loving relationship with God. That was the plan. That was the design from the beginning. And when Adam and Eve sinned, that bond was broken, which meant that we, who were created by God, for God, to be with God, could no longer be in communion with God. So that now, the result of that is that we go around broken, unfulfilled, because the biggest and the best part of who we were meant to be, what we were meant to be, who we were designed to be, was no longer there. Simone Weil, a philosopher, mystic, activist, talks about this way. She says there is a God-shaped hole in our lives. And we keep trying to fill it and stuff it with the things of this world. The wrong things, because those things will never satisfy us. We have a God-shaped hole, and we try to fill it with all these other things that can never satisfy. Whenever I think about this quote or this idea, I always picture a monkey in a lab, right? And this monkey has got a square peg, and there's a round hole, right? And he's just trying to stuff that that square peg into a round hole over and over again, and he just never learns, right? Just keep, it's not going in. I guess I'll just try harder. He just never learns. And now when it comes to that monkey, right, I can understand that monkey. Maybe even forgive the monkey. Why? Because it is a monkey, right? It's a monkey. But we are human beings. We have been created in God's image. God gave us a mind and a free will so that we can know better, so that we can do better. But why is it that so often we don't know better? We don't do better. And we keep trying to fill that void, that God-shaped hole in our lives with just the next shiny new bauble, or popularity, or good grades, or good school, or whatever it is that you think you need to fix it, to make it go away, so that this pain will no longer be there, so that you won't feel empty inside. Or at least distract us long enough so that we don't have to think about it, so we don't have to deal with it. But when it's all said and done, even if you've had it all, you're still going to find yourself asking, so why? Why do I still feel this way? Why am I still unhappy and feel alone or empty? I mean, I have all these things, all these good things that are supposed to be good, they're supposed to make me happy, so why? Why do I feel incomplete and unsatisfied? The Bible, again, tells me, and this I know: you are my Lord, and apart from you, I have no good thing. You were created by God, for God, to be with God. So who's gonna know better than God what's gonna make you whole? What's gonna make you feel happy and complete and fulfilled? But we keep looking to the wrong things to fill our God-shaped hole. But really, only God can fill it. And the things of this world can never do that. St. Augustine said, "Our hearts are restless till we find our rest in you." Our hearts are restless till we find our rest in you. God is our home. No matter where you go, what you do, I want you to know that God is calling you to come home. Calling you to find your home, your love in Him. The only one who can fulfill and satisfy. In church, we call this grace. We call it prevenient grace. This is the grace that precedes and goes before you. And even before God was ever even a thought in your mind, God was already reaching out to you and working on you and your heart through the experiences and the people that he has brought into your life. That is God's love. That is grace relentlessly pursuing you, because God is head over heels, crazy in love with you. And he's calling you home because you belong to him. You are his. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.